All right, so picture this. You're getting ready for this big meeting, and everyone's talking about this company, Transformers and Rectifiers India Ltd.
They're making a splash in the energy sector,
You need to get up to speed fast.
and that's where we come in. We've got a whole stack of sources for you.
We've got a company announcement, we've got their financial report, we've even got their investor presentation.
Oh, and we even got a recording of their latest earnings call.
We're going to break it all down, give you the key insights, and who knows, maybe we'll find a few surprises along the way.
Think of this as your shortcut to really understanding what makes this company tick and why it matters.
So Transformers and Rectifiers India Ltd, or TERL as they're known, they're not just another name in the game. They're actually the second largest transformer manufacturer in India based on how many they can produce.
Think of all the massive power grids, the furnaces that melt metal, even those green hydrogen projects everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
TERL is right there powering it all.
And they're not just sticking to India either. They've got projects happening in over 25 countries.
What's really interesting here is it's not just about their size, it's about their strategic positioning. India's infrastructure needs are exploding, and TERL is right in the sweet spot.
Okay, let's get into their performance in Q3 of fiscal year 2025. Get this. Their standalone revenue jumped by 49% compared to the same period last year. That's 545 crore rupees.
Yeah, and it gets even better. Their profit after tax shot up by an incredible 276%.
Whoa. And if we look at the consolidated numbers, it's the same story. A 51% increase in revenue from operations, hitting 559 crore rupees.
Now, this kind of growth doesn't just happen by chance. If you look closely, you see a company that's making smart choices, focusing on projects with higher profit margins and building strategic partnerships.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. TERL isn't just riding the waves, they're making some bold moves to control their own destiny. They acquired a controlling stake in a CRGO processing unit.
And you might be wondering, what's CRGO?
Yeah.
Well, think of it as the magic ingredient in Transformers, a special electrical steel that makes up the core. And by controlling a CRGO processing unit, TERL is now 100% backward integrated when it comes to that crucial material.
Exactly. They're basically saying, we're not relying on anyone else for this essential ingredient, we're in control. And especially when global supply chains are so unpredictable, this move gives them a huge advantage in terms of cost and stability.
It's like they're building a fortress of efficiency and control. And speaking of control, they didn't stop there. They've also secured deals for 3 more critical component technologies. These are expected to be up and running by December 2025.
So they're really looking to reduce their dependence on external suppliers and boost their efficiency even further.
Smart move. It's almost like they're playing a long game of chess, thinking several steps ahead.
Absolutely. And that brings us to their recent earnings call. Now, you wouldn't normally think of these calls as being particularly exciting, but this one had a different vibe.
Yeah, I was surprised by how candid and optimistic the tone was. You could really sense the excitement about where the company is heading, and that speaks volumes to investors and anyone interested in TERL's future. Let's listen to a clip from the call where Mr. Sakin Mamtora, the managing director, talks about their focus on high-yield generated orders and getting favorable payment terms.
Right.
Audio clip plays.
It's clear they're being very selective about the projects they take on, prioritizing profitability over just chasing volume.
That's right. They're not just saying yes to every opportunity that comes their way. They're focusing on projects that will bring in the highest returns.
Which is a sign of a company that knows its strengths and is confident in its position. But they're also thinking big. They've set a goal of reaching $1 billion in annual revenue within the next 3 years.
That's a bold target. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But considering their current momentum, the strategic moves they're making, and the booming infrastructure market in India, it's not completely out of reach.
No, not everyone was convinced about the timeline. An analyst on the call actually pushed back a bit. And in response, Mr. Jitendra Mamtora, the chairman, emphasized their commitment to achieving this ambitious goal. Let's hear that clip.
Okay, audio clip play.
You can really hear the conviction in his voice. He believes in this goal.
Absolutely, he believes they can get there. Now, what do you think? Is this a realistic goal? Can they hit that $1 billion mark?
It's definitely ambitious. But they've shown they're not afraid to take on a challenge, and they're putting the pieces in place to make it happen.
So we've talked big picture strategy, but let's zoom in on what TERL has been doing on the ground, for instance. They recently pulled off a successful short-circuit test on a 500 MVA transformer.
Okay. Now, for those of us who aren't electrical engineers, can you break down why that's such a big deal?
Sure, it's basically a stress test, pushing the transformer to its limits. to make sure it can handle extreme conditions.
Oh.
It's a huge testament to their commitment to quality and reliability. Kind of like proving their transformers can withstand a sudden surge of power without breaking a sweat.
And it seems like their commitment to quality hasn't gone unnoticed. They snagged an Operational Excellence Award from Power Grid,
Yeah,
which is a pretty big name in the Indian energy sector.
right. It's significant recognition of their capabilities and performance.
Okay.
And on top of that, they've been pushing the boundaries of innovation. They snagged their first ever order for 193 MVA single-phase STATCOM transformers.
Okay. I'll admit, you've lost me a bit there, Statcom.
Fair enough. It stands for Static Synchronous Compensator. Think of it as a super sophisticated technology that helps stabilize power grids and make them more energy efficient.
Okay.
They're essential for keeping the lights on and preventing blackouts.
So they're not just building transformers, they're at the forefront of power technology, helping make sure the grid is reliable and efficient.
Exactly. And this innovation is paying off. Just this past quarter, they saw a whopping 631 crore rupees in new orders. That's a clear sign that the market has confidence in their ability to deliver.
And it's not just about landing the orders, it's about keeping up with the demand. They actually hit a record for the most transformer units tested in a single month back in December 2024. So they're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
They are. Now let's dive into their product portfolio, because it's more diverse than you might think.
Okay.
They offer everything from power transformers to furnace transformers, distribution transformers, and even specialized transformers for specific industries.
It sounds like they really do have a transformer for every need.
They do. It's like a one-stop shop for all things transformer related. Think of their power transformers as the heavy lifters, designed for those high-voltage transmission and distribution networks. They make sure the electricity gets where it needs to go, safely and efficiently.
And then you've got the furnace transformers. These are the workhorses built to handle those intense temperatures and huge amounts of energy needed to melt and refine materials.
Right. They've also got specialized transformers tailored for specific tasks,
Yeah.
like converting AC to DC power, or even testing other transformers. And of course, there are the distribution transformers that you see in your neighborhood, quietly making sure electricity reaches homes and businesses.
So they're playing a critical role in a wide range of industries, from power generation and distribution to things like petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, even mining and paper production. Terrell's transformers are everywhere.
It really speaks to their versatility and ability to adapt to a wide range of needs, whether it's a massive infrastructure project or a niche industrial application. And speaking of adaptability, let's talk about their customer base. Their domestic customer list reads like a who's who of the Indian energy sector.
We're talking major players like Power Grid Corporation of India, NTPC Tata Power, Adani Power, just to name a few. These are some of the biggest and most influential companies in the industry.
Yeah, these partnerships are built on trust and a proven track record
Yeah.
of delivering quality products and services, which is essential in a sector as demanding as energy. Now, let's be realistic. Every company faces challenges. One of the biggest concerns for Terrell is the potential for an economic slowdown, especially with all the talk about reduced government spending.
That's a valid concern. How are they dealing with that?
Well, for one, their order book remains strong, and they're strategically focusing on those high-margin projects and negotiating favorable payment terms, which helps to mitigate some of the risk. They're also keeping a close eye on the global economic landscape and adjusting their strategies as needed.
Smart move. Another potential challenge is the availability of raw materials, especially with all the global supply chain disruptions we've seen lately.
Right, but this is where their strategic move into backward integration comes in handy. By taking control of key raw materials like that CRGO we discussed earlier, they're buffering themselves against those external shocks.
It's like they're creating their own safety net,
Yeah.
which is crucial in today's volatile environment. So we've covered their performance, their products, and some of the challenges they're facing. But what about the future? What's next for Terrell?
Well, they've made their billion-dollar revenue goal pretty clear, but it's not just about size. It's about becoming a true global leader in the transformer industry.
And they're not just sitting back and waiting for it to happen. They're investing heavily in research and development, constantly pushing the limits of what's possible with transformer technology.
That's right. Remember our earlier conversation about green hydrogen?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of how they're positioning themselves for the future of energy.
They seem to have all the right ingredients for continued success. Strong financials, a wide range of products, strategic partnerships, and a leadership team with a clear vision.
They do. Terrell is definitely a company to keep your eye on. Their journey is a fascinating case study in growth, ambition, and adaptability. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to explore.
You mean the whole green hydrogen revolution and what it could mean for a company like Terrell?
Exactly. Let's dive into that.
Okay, so green hydrogen. It's being hailed as a potential game changer. In the global energy landscape, I've even heard it called the fuel of the future. Why all the hype?
Well, for starters, it produces zero emissions when you burn it, which is a big deal in our fight against climate change. Plus, you can produce it using renewable energy sources like solar and wind power.
Right.
That makes it a much more sustainable alternative to fossil fuels, which, as we know, are a major contributor to global warming.
So where does a company like Terrell fit into all of this?
They're actually one of the few companies in the world with the know-how to manufacture the specialized transformers needed for these green hydrogen projects.
I'm guessing these aren't your typical transformers?
You're right. These projects require something called high-voltage direct current transformers, or HVDC transformers for short.
Okay.
They're crucial for transmitting the massive amounts of electricity
Yeah.
needed to split water molecules and produce green hydrogen.
So it's like they're building the infrastructure that will make this green hydrogen dream a reality.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they're not just waiting on the sidelines. They're already supplying transformers for some of the first green hydrogen pilot projects around the world. If this technology takes off the way many experts predict, it could be a huge growth opportunity for Terrell.
It sounds like they're making a calculated bet on the future of energy, and it could pay off big time.
And it's not just about the technology itself. Terrell is also taking a proactive role in shaping the policies and regulations surrounding green hydrogen.
What do you mean?
They're working with policymakers and industry leaders to develop safety standards and guidelines for producing and distributing green hydrogen. They're thinking about the whole ecosystem, not just their own piece of the puzzle.
So they're not just building transformers, they're helping to create a whole new industry.
Precisely. And that's something we should all care about. This is a company that's not just riding the waves of change. They're actively pushing it forward.
They're showing how innovation, strategic thinking, and a commitment to sustainability can really make a difference.
Their story is a perfect example of how the energy sector is evolving. It's a reminder that we're on the cusp of a new era, and companies like Terrell are leading the charge.
As green hydrogen projects continue to gain momentum, Terrell is definitely a company to watch. They could play a key role in unlocking a cleaner and more sustainable energy future for all of us.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Transformers and Rectifiers India Ltd.
We've covered a lot of ground, from their strong financial performance to their strategic acquisitions and their exciting role in the green hydrogen revolution.
Remember, we've only scratched the surface. There's a whole lot more to discover about this company and its impact on the ever-changing energy landscape.
But we hope this deep dive has given you a solid understanding of what makes Terrell a company with a vision they're determined to turn into reality. Their journey is a testament to the power of innovation and a reminder that the future of energy is filled with possibilities.
So stay curious, stay informed, and as always, keep exploring the world around you.
And that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.